Yeah, there was energy, there was intent. What we didn't do was get off to the start that we needed to get off to reflect that, and I think that, we did, give up a drive on the first possession defensively, and they intended to take as much time as they could off the clock and to do that. And so when you allow them to kind of bleed certain plays and do that, you kind of took the air out of certain things, and we didn't establish anything offensively really all game, which was frustrating in that regard. And you have a couple running backs get hurt, and that didn't help the cause a little bit running the ball. But I hurt for our seniors because there's a lot of these guys that it meant a lot to, and and so you feel bad that you weren't able to send them out with a win on a weekend like this.
Questions?
Jay, kind of broad, but once again, why can't this offense get going in your opinion?
I mean, I think there's a lot of combinations to it, and the fact that we don't always execute well enough in the pass game in terms of protection, in terms of creating space and separation on people. I think that's a piece of it. So when you have the combination of us not creating separation and space at times, and then us not protecting it at times, there's issues with that. And then look, I mean, foundationally, we've got to be able to run the ball, and we didn't run the ball well today. And that's a core thing to what we want to be able to do in our program, is to be able to run the ball, and run the ball with far more effectiveness and success than what we're able to run it with in this game. And so, look, there's a lot of layers to that, and I think that we tried to. I mean, there's a lot of attempts to try to do certain things to free us up in the run game, and we were, even doing some things with Max White back there on certain stuff and all that. And then obviously when Sam Harris got injured, there was a few things that were specific to him that kind of went out the window, because you game plan for a player and then that player's not there. So that hurt us as well.
Was it the offensive line?
I don't want to just say it was just the offensive line at times. I mean, look, there was 2 times in the perimeter that we've got a run check with a bubble, and we throw the bubble, and twice we lose 3 and 5 yards on it because we're not blocking well enough in the perimeter on the play too. So I think that there's a whole lot of layers to it, and we've had an ineffectiveness at staying on the field well enough throughout the course of games. And I mean, look, when we're going for 4th downs at our own 35 and 30-yard line and stuff like that, I mean, that's not really smart football typically, but that's what you're doing when you're in a desperate mode to try to keep the football. And right now, we have a lot of things that we've got to fix and do with the offense going forward. And so obviously 7 points, in all these games, I mean, is what it is. We're not good enough on offense right now.
Yeah, how much did that missed field goal early kind of impact, obviously having to go for the touchdown there at the end? How much did that kind of just impact the game overall?
Yeah, I mean, like, we got to hit that field goal. I mean, that was I don't know what it was, a 36-yarder or something like that. We got to be able to hit that. And, and obviously that changes the dynamic of the game. But look, we also have coach-to-player communication. And, we tell, a linebacker on the field, on a 4th and 4, he tell everybody, stay, don't jump, stay back, ball key, ball key, ball key. And what do? We jump off sides on a 4th down and 4 field goal that creates a touchdown for him. So like, there's a whole mix of things in there that that's frustrating. And what happens is when you're not having the effectiveness and the efficiency offensively that we have, like, every single little thing is magnified. Like, you can't afford a penalty. You can't afford and that's I mean, like, watch a lot of games, there's a lot of things that don't come down to those type of plays, and it's, you know, it's because you can still bail yourself out. Right now, we can't do that.
Jay, you bring up that 4th and 4 penalty, and then there were a couple of unsportsmanlike calls after the fake punt. Where do you think that undiscipline has come from in the last, today?
Well, I think there's a frustration level to some degree on some of it. I don't understand, you know, the fake punt that happened. I mean, just a poor execution by our guy rushing off the backside edge, comes under a shield, supposed to stay outside the shield. So it wasn't like a play that we didn't have an account for, right? But didn't do what he's supposed to, and then we get a 15-yard penalty on the same play. So that killed, you know, right? Like now it gets the ball to midfield, and then we have a late hit on that same possession. And look, some of that's difficult, right? Tice Westland's a senior. He's been in this program a long time. He got a late hit, you know, and so some of that, I don't know if it's just a level of frustration at that point in time, but that's, you know, it's unacceptable.
Jay, what happened there at the end? Obviously, it was kind of chaos there to end the game. What was it? Caden made you run out of time trying to. It looked like he was trying to spike it. But.
Okay, so here's what happened. All right, and this is what the goal was. When we got the first down at the 1 yard line, okay, there was 18 seconds, I believe. Spike it so we can get organized and have a play. Okay, we get organized and have a play. And what the goal would have been is we've got 2 shots to figure out a way to throw the football to get it in. And then you got 1 shot at the end of the game to try to run it to get it in. Because if you run the ball on that first play and you don't get in, by the time that you get everybody set and get back on it, you're going to have you may get off a play, but you may not. By the time you get everybody unpiled, the ball set, everybody lined up to go run a play again. So the goal was to try to get 3 plays. And 2 of those as passes. Well, you know, we were, you know, we did a poor job communication-wise to the players on the second down play. And then when it all broke down, just throw it out of the end zone, and we didn't do that. We kept the ball in play. Guy gets tackled. And then any time that you're dealing with an official, right, that you got to get the ball to. You got to make sure you hand the ball to the official because they're going to drop it. They're going to do all this other stuff, and that's what happened. The next thing you know, the clock would have been under 3 seconds to spike it. The whole thing can't happen. The intent was spike the ball. You know, don't rush into a bad first down play after that. Because if we just lined up and run the ball and we misfit one guy or something like that, that clock's running and we may get 1 more play. And so the whole goal was let's spike it. We've got 3 plays from the 1 yard line. The third one could have been a run, okay, in that situation. But the first 2, you know, you're looking at like, let's get something to where we can throw the ball into the end zone that's short, quick, and do that, and we would have a shot. And we didn't execute it, and we didn't, you know, and so look, like I told the players, you know, it's frustrating. I don't want any player to turn on each other or be frustrated with each other. If they got somebody to blame and blame that situation, blame the head coach because I'm the one that's responsible for it.
Speaking of that, Jay, you're a realistic guy. This is a 2-win team you just lost to. Everybody wants instant gratification right now. Do you worry about your job security at all?
I mean, I don't make that decision, you know. I mean, I guess I could make the decision if I was going to say, hey, I'm going to resign or something like that, but that's not a decision I'm saying today or anything like that. So I can't, you know, I don't have that, you know, I don't have that type of, I don't control that, okay? Now, with that, am I like proud of this right now? No, I'm absolutely not proud. We've lost too many close games in a 2-year period of time. And we haven't been offensively good in a 2-year period of time. And, you know, so yeah, I'm really, really frustrated with it. You know, I thought that we had done a very good job this past offseason of rebuilding ourselves into a pretty good defensive football team. And to where, for most part, minus 1 game of an aberration, we've been pretty good on special teams throughout everything. And we've, you know, put ourselves in position in a number of games. Like we've had, we had 55 penalty yards today. Most every game we're at 50 or below. And so I can look at all these things and go, okay, messages are getting through. We're not scoring points. We're not putting ourselves in position where we're creating much of anything. And so I'm not going to just stand in front of everybody and say, well, this is a personnel issue. Or I'm not going to do that. That's not the right thing to say, and that's not the right thing to do in that mindset. And so, no, I mean, I think we've been offensively challenged around here over a few year period of time. But what we've done, we've taken a step back from that. And that's what's frustrating in this situation. We can't lose a game 13-7. You should never lose a game 13-7 in today's modern football. Especially when, it's been, it's frustrating. It's just 3 straight games we scored in single digits. And I felt good about the energy and the intent of our players. I thought our players had a very good Thursday practice and did some good things that way and the whole deal. But, we're just not creating enough opportunity for ourselves offensively. And because of it, it magnifies every little thing. And, no, I mean, like I had the intent of getting 3 plays off at the end of the game. Okay, and we got, 2, right? And the second one was a shit show, right? And that's not the intent. That's not what you want to get done. And so, you're frustrated by that whole picture. And so, like, I can't control other things. I can't control outside influences. I can, if this was something where guys weren't playing hard, if this was something where we were having constant off-field issues or anything else that way, I could look at that a whole lot differently. Right now, I mean, guys practice hard, they play hard, they work out hard, they do all these things, and we're not having a level of success that we need to have. And in particularly, we're not scoring points. And it's just, it's a frustration of me. I made a change as an offensive coordinator midway through this year because at that time, through 19 games as a head coach, that we'd scored 3 touchdowns or less, I think at that time, 15 times. All right, and that's offensively. I'm not counting San Jose because we had a punt return touchdown and an interception return touchdown. Okay, so that's 3 touchdowns or less. This is 2025. We got to be able to score points and got to be able to do things. And so, look, that's I mean, I've never been this frustrated in my coaching career. I've never been this frustrated, and it's not frustrated with players. It's not frustrated with anybody associated with our team. It's just frustrated that we've not been able to figure out how to get production. And and look, maybe there's other layers to it and that whole thing, but right now that's I can't control the other.
Coach, it felt like the offensive line was under siege all day. Did you anticipate having such difficulty blocking them up front?
Here's what I think happened with it. I think even from when I talked to Coach Choke before the game, he said to me before the game, he's like, team's playing their ass off. It's like you just got to be consistent with quarterback play, right? And I think he went into this game thinking if we stop the run and pile a lot of people in there, that we're going to make Wyoming throw the football to beat us. Okay, that's what I think the approach was. And I think that when we go back and look at the video, there's going to be a lot of times, and when you watch it, from the field and watch it in there, there's a lot of times that there's extra bodies in the run game. There's 5 offensive linemen. And you can throw a tight end in there, and you can throw another guy, 2 tight ends in there, and that's 7. But what happens is when you're blocking 9 of them, right, you got to be able to isolate certain things. And so, I know that that's what's going to happen when we go back and watch this video about kind of where we are at and what we got done offensively.
Yeah, Coach, you spoke on this a little bit earlier, but just how hard is it just to see these seniors go out this way, basically on the last play?
Look, outside of like my own kids or anything like that, there's nothing that I wouldn't trade in this world than to see that group of seniors have walked off that field today as a winner. Okay? You know, and look, I think there's a lot of them that gave, you know, as we're going to go back and look at, there's a lot of them that gave really good performances in the game, right? And we didn't come off a winner, you know, and there's going to be things that we've got to look at and say that we could do better as coaches and everything that way. But no, I mean, that's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life was walk in that locker room and look at those guys and just say, you know, like I said, maybe in the autopsy of all this game and everything else that you could point to this and point to that and point to the other and the whole picture. Okay, ultimately what you're looking at is that, like I told them, you just point to the head coach, and because I still have to be able to get it done for that group. We didn't get it done, so.
We good? Thank you.
Coach,